back to day 2 of the Hearthstone Global Games, where China just took down the USA. That was a good wow. All right, Lorinda, you just want to see Sottle lose.
That's the only reason. I've got nothing against the US. Is a fantastic team, and all the players in it I think are fantastic players, but Sottle lost is far more important.
Well, speaking of casters losing, there is definitely going to be a caster losing in this next series, as we have Germany, which is Derek's pick, coming up. Wow, good timing, production. I like that. Versus Netherlands, who... They're on point. I don't even need to do anything today.
There you go. Good. I can just do it all by myself.
So yeah, it's a high-stake game. Let's take a look at who will be representing the teams that we've got playing. For Germany, Seiko, Viper, Bunny Hopper, and Sinto Lol. Wow, Lorinda.
Wow, indeed. And that is missing off players like Casey and Mr. Yagu, who are also very powerful players. If you can have them on the sidelines, that's fantastic. Seiko, the anchor, looking to... I heard Sottle earlier talking about sort of Muzzy and Hunter Ace, the top 2 players in the world, for sure, basically.
Right.
When you ask people around like the scene, Psycho gets a lot of credit for being up in that conversation.
And as we talk about the team, let's talk about the place. Germany, one of the biggest, most famous countries in Europe, I think it's fair to say, and with good reason. It's a really great place. I've had the chance to visit a few times now.
And even in Germany, they have beautiful views.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Netherlands is a beautiful place, though. I had the pleasure of going to Amsterdam for the Hearthstone World Championships early this year. Got to experience a little bit of the Netherlands there. And the Netherlands team, of course, they're my team, so they are fantastic. We've got Tyler, originally known as the biggest grinder in Hearthstone, or one of the first grinders in Hearthstone, with consistently amazing ladder results, achieving rank 1 legend in 3 different servers on 1 day.
Good man.
Not at the same time.
Good.
But
you knew I'd have fought you if you got that wrong.
Theo and Mitsuhide, just 2 other fantastic Hearthstone players, just achieving result after result over the last few years. And Tice.
Yeah, Ty's an interesting one for a lot of people. Felt across the scene that maybe he'd lost his competitive spirit a little bit, sort of focuses more on just being good with unusual decks. But then he tried to qualify for the German HCT coming up. Did it first time.
No, he just did. There's no try. He just
did it. So really want to highlight Theo quite heavily this year. Last year we knew he was strong players sort of as casters, but he wasn't really. He was like the other guy on the team last year. Very much not that person this year, though. Very much an entity in his own right. A very powerful player. Always seems to be top 10 legend while streaming with decks that have weird cards in them. I don't understand it, but you should watch Theo. He's a very informative streamer.
That's incredible. Picks and bans. Lorinda, look at this. Double Shaman ban right off the top.
They had mercy on the casters. No Shudderwock nonsense for us to mess up today.
I like Shudderwock.
Very interesting, though, Netherlands picking Paladin, which has been the last pick for a lot of teams very early on. And that is because Germany have this sort of anti-control lineup. And so Netherlands just didn't want to lose all of their aggressive stuff while they could, because that's the stuff that can get through those decks. So, weirdly, having to pick what has been one of the worst classes right at the start.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if the picks and bans had happened just when I had this conversation with Mitsuhide, but I spoke to him an hour or so ago for Team Netherlands, sorry. And of course, I've got a little bit of vested interest in this game. And he said to me, he feels as though in every scenario, they are slightly unfavored, as they have an anti-control... as the other team have an anti-control strat, whereas they have an anti-aggro strat.
Right.
So it's not worked out very well for them.
But they did manage to get the Paladin sorted. Let's see how they put that into their lineup as the Paladin, see where they matched it up against. And they got the mirror.
The mirror. Okay, well
That's a loss, really, because it's their first pick versus Germany's last pick, if you like.
Oh, sure. So when you look at it that way in a sort of priorities sort of way? Yeah, okay.
But across the board here, it feels like it's pretty close. I don't think there's any massive thrashing likely to happen here.
No. It's just so difficult to even look at the classes. My eyes just keep getting drawn to the amazing names that we have in this
Right.
series. Like, we've got many, many, many players competing in the Hearthstone Global Games. Many accomplished players. I mean, in theory, it's the best 4 players from each country. But when you get to teams like the Netherlands and Germany, who have at least 4 all-star players on the team, I'm just looking forward to sitting back, relaxing, and watching this game, honestly.
I mean, yeah, Bunny Hopper and Viper already could be doing that for the World Championships, as they're
Right.
already through, but now they've got a summer to fill up winning something else while they're waiting for that World Championships early next year. And having 2 people who've already qualified, only 4 people have actually qualified for Worlds, is a big deal. And Germany leading off with Psycho at the anchor. And of course, everybody knows Colento on the right-hand side.
Oh, okay. Well, somebody had to go there, I guess.
Haven't done that one for a year. It felt great.
Yeah, Seiko not qualified for the championships just yet, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if he does make it at some point this year. He's one of the most esteemed players when it comes to sort of other pro player perception.
Right.
A lot of people have a lot of respect for Seiko.
And that's all we have to go on when we talk about how other pro players see things. The deal is that you can only ask, if you're talking about who's the best player in the world, there's probably only 30 or 40 people who are even qualified to have that conversation. So we have to talk to those guys.
So we've ended up with Q-Block versus Spell Hunter, and I think it's safe to say that neither of these decks are sort of the top of the class.
Right.
Now.
Yeah, Q-Block is a deck we saw yesterday once or twice, but we haven't seen much Spell Hunter. And I feel this is a big deal because Spell Hunter is the most tried and tested of the Hunter decks. It's not necessarily the best, but do we know really yet if the Egg Hunter deck is definitely very good?
I feel as though it is.
I mean, it's definitely working.
But that might just be the flavour of the week.
Yeah, I mean, new decks work a lot better than they should when they're first sort of built, first tried, because the first thing everyone does is play them and not learn how to beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And so people learn how to play the deck quicker than they learn how to beat the deck. Now, we're just entering that phase now with Hunter when we will find out, what's the best point of attack for the eggs and such like. But not going there, they are going with the tried and tested Spell Hunter. Traps, make 3/3s, hit your opponent, don't get Hellfire.
Now, and that's the issue right there, the don't get Hellfire part of that sentence. This is a favourite. The Q-Block is the favourite here. We can see Mountain Giants, 2 Mountain Giants now in the opening hand, all of the board clears in the world, and that's sort of the problem. The Spell Hunter is almost a curve deck, or one of the closest things to a curve deck that we actually have in Hearthstone right now. Play the Secrets on 2, play Animal Companion on 3, play the Spellstone on 5, Rexar, and then start building beasts. Rock Delar on 7, that's where the big swing happens, because you get a handful of spells that can do anything. But unfortunately, a Mountain Giant, an 8/8 on turn 4, that's a good curve.
It is a good curve. Ty's trying to set up this explosive here. The play from Germany would often be to just sooner, before playing anything else, kill off your 2/1, then get a freezing trap down, try and freeze a giant, make a board of 3/3s, and as you saw in the meantime, Hellfire has been picked up, so that doesn't really do anything. So your second point of attack is to make sure you get Rexar down and just get tons and oodles of value, hang in there the best you can, hope they don't have their big boys, and then maybe win it through value later on. But it's pretty hard to outvalue someone who can draw 2 cards a turn.
It is, and I think you're right, Rexar is key here. It's building big beasts, and slamming these big beasts onto the board is a way that the Hunter can sort of leverage an advantage. The problem is, the Q-Block with the Mountain Giants, with Doom Guards, with Gul'dan, it doesn't necessarily give the Hunter time to do that.
I wonder how early they're going to start hero powering face. Remember, this is not even lock, this is Q-Block, so more of that damage going to face actually sticks in this situation. And with that damage sticking with slightly less healing available, you can get it done if you press the button a lot of times during the course of the game, coupled with maybe your Spellstone doesn't get Hellfired.
Sure.
Which of course it's going to.
Yes, that in itself is a pretty big issue.
We see it there though, choosing not to go secret into secret, which would give them the bigger Spellstone, instead concentrating already on getting those repeated 2 points of damage to face.
Look at that, Ivy Owl coming down just to put something else on the board this turn.
Yeah, I mean, it's Spell Hunter, so there are no minions. That's why it's called Spell Hunter. So what are you going to Iron Beak? Well, you might want to Iron Beak Rexar, build a beast. Everyone likes building beasts, therefore the opponents like unbuilding beasts. But other than that, really, yeah, why not have it down there till you have more information?
Now, talking again, I mentioned I've been talking to Mitsuhide a little bit. Netherlands are very confident generally about their team. They are thrilled that they're one of the only 2 teams in the tournament that has the exact same 4 players as last year, because they said a big part of last year's tournament was getting the communication down, working out just how to accomplish that. And this year, he said, we don't need to. We know we can communicate well. We've had meetings. We are ready for this tournament.
I mean, have you ever seen Thais be quiet for so long? Was that last term where he hardly spoke at all? I can say that because I never shut up either.
He did say, however, that he believes the competition is much more fierce this year. Whereas they did feel last year that they had a very good chance to take it all the way. This year, there are teams like Norway, Italy, and Brazil that have just gotten so much stronger that it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, it's something I wanted to touch on a little bit today, actually. Last year was the rise of APAC. And to some extent, this year has been the rise of Latin America. Something we haven't talked about much because Europe were already, unfortunately for the people who aren't from Europe, who are going to now respond to this, were already the best Hearthstone region. But what has happened is that they have pushed the boundaries of how good they are, so that APAC once again feel like they're behind, but it's not because they haven't caught up, it's because Europe have just pushed on, and some of the plays we have seen in this tournament now, Sottle was discussing some earlier, are so intricate, and Europe are solving those, and maybe only the USA and 1 or 2 players from other regions really are.
Okay.
So, it might be the rise of Europe. It just hasn't been noticed because they were already #1 for a long time. That they've responded to the other teams getting better.
Things are speeding up now as Seiko drops a big 8-8 on the board, and now Thais straight away plays that Spellstone. There was no hesitation there, so the team must have already agreed on that play. And now Seiko has to continue to play around these secrets. There's an explosive trap and a freezing trap on the board. That giant isn't attacking anytime soon.
It would be a pretty giant waste of time if they did, but with 2 giants in hand, maybe they just want to get the secrets procced, maybe before an Eagle Horn bow gets played, for instance, and just get on with their life. Obviously the Netherlands with that Hunter's Mark not dying anytime soon, and that's a big deal. I mean, that sounds quite obvious really when you think about it. Not dying is good.
Generally, yep, I have to agree.
I've done it for a long time. Psycho. Again, interesting to see the people driving the decks tend to be the ones not talking so much.
Well, that's good. It means that, not forcing their own opinion on the game.
Right, and then when it comes to the rope burning, they're still in charge of the driver's seat. If they don't agree, they can just do it. Ro48 seems a good choice here for me.
Yeah, I don't think Thais is going to mind throwing away the Animal Companion and flanking strike too much. You mentioned that Thais very recently qualified for HCC Germany. And, he's not been focusing too much on competition. Back when he did focus on competition, we're talking maybe around 2 years ago now, he was winning tournament after tournament after tournament. He did have a nice little run of his own.
Yeah, he won back-to-back European Championships. I mean, talking about what a strong region Europe was, well, Thais was king of the region for a decent amount of time. And it doesn't mean he's any less skillful because he doesn't play competitively. Just little things, speaking to some of the players who don't do it as much now, that you lose are just like lineups aren't quite so good as they used to be, that sort of thing, maybe.
But Team Germany are incredibly competitive.
Right.
And in fact, speaking to Seiko, he said he's happy with the team. He did say to me he thinks the team could be better.
Wow.
In his own opinion, it would be maybe slightly better if it had Yogurt and Casey. That's right.
I mean, Casey is an incredible player.
Yeah. I have no argument with you there.
No direct damage pulled from there. Oh yeah, 1 kill command pulled from there, I think. But in a second Spellstone with all these secrets up, bit late. 1 more secret and 2 more secrets in hand, so they can get a second lot of wolves and they can get 10 damage to face. They've pressed the magic button quite a few times. There's an explosive trap up. There is a lot of damage here for the Netherlands, starting to look like it could get through.
And that's why Ro48 is such a good card, right? Because it just does this. Your hand is empty as you get towards the late game, it just stocks it right back up again, often with a lot of damage like this. Or, even better in many cases, random secrets that your opponent is going to have no idea how to play around.
Or if you're me, it just stocks it up with play deads and venom strike traps and nothing ever comes of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thais, being a far superior player to myself, has got a nice handful of things to do.
Thais has barely taken any damage here, actually, and that Doom Guard, once again, still going to struggle to get anything done.
So Psycho's plan, obviously, is to get to Blood Reaver Gul'dan without dying. The without dying thing is just getting a bit silly, but you know what I mean. But the 3 secrets is really difficult. He knows what they are because deck lists are open. There are only 3 secrets in the main deck. Do you take time out to crushing walls, or do you trust that Germany are going to get 1 attack in and you can do it next turn, weaving in some of those hero power shots?
Crushing Walls doesn't look too bad to me here, but the problem is, Rian is eventually probably actually going to activate this game. That Skull of the Minari hasn't been played yet, and it's not like Tice is really applying any pressure that Seiko has to be afraid of.
Well, I mean, look the other way. So if you're crushing walls, hit face for 4, they're down to 15. You've got 2 kill commands, a button that does 2, and an explosive trap. That's 14.
Right.
So even though he's not applying any immediate danger threats, I mean, it's called Spell Hunter. You don't have that repeated minion damage. You have to use that repeated hero power damage to replicate that. But yeah, you're right. He's not going to generate any board threats. But in terms of damage, it is adding up pretty quickly. Especially if Animal Companion can, roll Hover.
I do love that Crushing Walls animation. Maybe it's because we don't see it much. It's very cool.
I played quite a lot of this, so I saw it a fair amount.
Ah, sure.
It's unusual for me to know an animation better than you.
Well, Void Lord seems like a snapback to me. And okay, Seiko does go with the Skull. Now, obviously, this means that Azari the Devourer is never going to get its Battle Cry because the turn it's in the hand, Skull will pull it out of the hand, its Battle Cry won't go off. However, summoning a 10/10 for free, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, this is going to be the last turn or two the Netherlands ever get any face damage in, most likely. So now they've got to get it done the old-fashioned way. Yeah, this is them going for, hey, if you don't have Void Lord, maybe get some damage through. Just provide a bit of a distraction, because every point they can get from a minion would be completely critical. Pulls the Doom Guard. This is a pretty big deal.
Those secrets are such a nightmare, though. I don't think I've seen this many secrets on the board since a certain mysterious challenge.
Yeah, don't talk about that.
Okay.
Christmas tree. Do you prefer yellow baubles or green ones?
I mean, green ones are more powerful.
All right, that's fair. Green is then.
The purpley ones are even better.
Purpley ones, yeah, more creative. So,
like 2 days in a row, really?
We only have 8 weeks of this.
Oh boy.
Psycho well aware that something is fishy here, though. Obviously, he knows how Rock Delar works, but he also is aware that you can soon just lose 13 health in this situation. Going to start ploughing through those secrets. Don't forget, I mean, if they can't kill the Netherlands quickly, which of course they'll be able to when Gordon comes down, they are going to just die to the hero power. And one of the problems of playing against Rock Delar is you see all sorts of monsters. Nicely worked to get the Godfrey on the board, not kill your own board. Animal Companion is going to be an awkward decision to make. The reason... Oh, Tyes is wondering whether to go to Huffer here. He sort of pursed his lips. Someone there said, let's play Animal Companion, and hit them with a Huffer, I think. Well, that's just lethal, if they do.
He's going for it. He gets the Huffer. What?
Huffer getting it done. 1-0 to the Netherlands.
Unbelievable. That looked to me... Oh, it was so difficult. Because of all the secrets, Netherlands were in a good position at least to survive until the late game. But then, on paper, they shouldn't have been able to get the job done, but they did. Hunter, Huffer, kill commands, classic.
Gul'dan was not played with a coin in hand and 9 mana. There's always... I mean, why would you? Because you're losing the value, but then if you die...
Void Lord had been played, right? So.
Yeah. Always interesting.
Always interesting indeed, but Netherlands definitely going to be celebrating that one. They are unfavoured in this series going in, and that was one of the unfavoured matchups. My pick, the Netherlands taking their first win. Very happy about that. Sorry, Derek.
Oh, dear. Why can't I be with the person who's losing so I feel more at home?
I'm just glad I'm not casting this one with Derek, because it would be like the most argumentative, biased, angry cast in Hearthstone.
Since the World Cup semi-final, viewed by ITV.
Oh boy. Anyways, next up is going to be the odd Paladin mirror. And
Yeah.
this one obviously could go either way. It does depend to an extent on how it's been teched. Netherlands one does run dire moles, however, Germany's does not. So
That's interesting.
that in itself is...
It's actually a massive deal.
Yeah.
They do have the boisterous bard in the German list. We heard Sottle waxing lyrical about a few moments ago. And obviously, in that mirror, if you've got 1-2s versus your opponent's 1-1s, you're in a great spot. But if you haven't got a dire mole, they've got a 1-3.
Sottle is a fan of the boisterous bard. He was actually shoving that down my throat last night when I was trying to prepare for something. And
Hope that went down okay.
It makes sense because it's very good in certain matchups, like against Zoo Warlock with the Despicable Dreadlord, etc.
Yeah, he went through a lot of those earlier, and it was interesting to hear just how many situations it's actually useful in.
But again, you have to sort of bring it back down to the point that I was going to make, the Dire Mole itself. That one card, it's a 1-mana 1/3. If it gets placed on turn 1, maybe with a Firefly with the coin, or just on turn 1 and then turn 2 hero power, that single 1/3 is making so many trades into these 1/1 Silverhand recruits. It does so much work. So maybe Netherlands Paladin.
Yeah, the unstated thing here that we're talking about that, you know, maybe one or two of you don't know, is all about the health total on those minions. Just that right-hand number, the number of trades you can do. Nobody hits face forever in this match. You just go, kill your things, and the other team kills your things, and you just keep killing each other's things until one of you has no things anymore.
No, and the other one has a board full of 3/3 things, not
one. And it spirals, like you say, because of the level up, makes them into 3/3s or 3/4s in some cases.
Now, Team Germany, we've talked a little bit about the current World Championship competitors. But we haven't mentioned Sintolol, who is playing next. Now, he did a really great job in last year's World Championships. He got up to top 8, where he eventually lost to Frozen in the crazy big spell mage mirror match thing.
Everybody's favourite match to cast, big spell mage mirrors.
And he is just one of the best, most consistent players over the last few years.
Yeah, but he got into that World Championship through being the last cool competitor, and by the end there, Tyler kept up with him for the longest time. Interestingly, of course, Tyler's on the other team here, and the only person who could catch him right near the end was Yala from the champions in this, who actually flew out to Montreal, I think it was, to try and get those last... Like, I think he needed to win it or come second to catch Sintolol, but he went out there to try and do that. And that's how far clear he was. Like, one person could fly out and try and catch him with a whole tournament with 15 points at stake to go.
On the other side of things, Tyler, Tyler is, and I always say this every time I cast him, he is one of my favourite players in the Hearthstone scene. He's got such an infectious personality. I've watched...
Infectiously fun personality, not just like, you don't go near him just like catch a disease or something, that'd be quite bad.
I've caught hundreds of hours of his stream because it's been such an easy watch. He just sits there, grinding the ladder with the best decks. And now, finally, he's going to all of these tournaments with his team, and he's not long away, I think, from getting some really good results.
No, I don't think he is at all. I tweeted the other day, now that Impact has finally made a big result this year, Tyler's kind of next on my list of people who are just not hitting top 16s, but have massive win percentages.
Right.
And I don't think it's long before we see Tyler. Maybe a little bit of upheaval in his life, moving house and stuff. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't sort of say it's affecting him, but he's gone from tournament to moving house to Vietnam, back to another tournament, back to picking bits and pieces up, back to another tournament. So maybe a little bit of time to settle will help him.
He's one of those players that goes to every single tour stop, right? Pretty much without fail, I believe. And that there really is no rest for Hearthstone players that are breaking into that competitive scene in a big way. And heck, I just love to see players that work that hard. I love to see them get good results.
I do too. I do wonder if a decision needs to be made from some players how many events they want to go to. Like, if you go to every single event, you'll get more points, but you will start to miss meta changes. You'll start to play a little bit worse. Just through fatigue. I mean, travelling everywhere all the time is a fantastic way to live, but it can get tiring.
I mean, that's something RDU was talking about, I believe, around a year ago. On his own stream, he had just been to a DreamHack event, not done as well as he had anticipated. He'd also been preparing for playoffs and all sorts of things like that, and he was saying, look, I can't continue to go to events like this. I need to start to pick and choose which ones are the correct ones to go to. And I think, that, to your point, that's right. It gets a little bit too much when you consider it's not just about going to the events and competing at the events. it's also about preparing a lineup for each of these events, testing the lineup for each of these events, doing the research on what the successful players have done on all of the events. There's a lot of work that goes into this.
And then the flip side again, because there always is in Hearthstone, it's never as simple as it looks or sounds. If everybody starts missing loads of events, then suddenly it's easy pickings. If nobody goes to the next big event, then the better player who turns up will destroy the field. So you've got to go to enough events to make sure you're still keeping the opposition honest, basically.
But right now for these teams, the most important event is, of course, the Hearthstone Global Games. It's important for themselves, it's important for the team, and it's important for the country. Again, I don't know how much we've talked about that element during the tournament so far, but it really is a big deal to have your country behind you, supporting you. I mean, I think the intro video does a great job of showing all of the different players all over the world and just showing how much fun this tournament is for everyone.
You what, mate? But yeah, I think we've talked about it a little bit less than like we did last year so far, because it tends to help the emerging countries a lot more as well. So Peru last year really put themselves on the map. Look at us, we are capable of competing with the best in the world, and that influences the people watching at home. Hey, we can do this, we can go and play. Whereas there's a different sort of support going for these big teams. Yeah. It's more like watching. Yeah, it is. It's watching a massive event. That you were there. It was fantastic to hear all those players cheer, or fans cheering.
All right, well, it sounds like one of the players needs just a few moments longer to get ready. So we're going to give them a chance. Hopefully, they'll be back in just a moment, and so will we. So we'll see you then. Welcome back. It's the Netherlands versus Germany. It's Tyler versus Sintolol, and it's an odd Paladin mirror match coming up next.
Odd Paladin mirror matches, not as easy as you think they are, but does come down a little bit to who can get their first big minion on the board. And by big minion, I mean a 1/3. There's no 1/5 for 2s in the format yet. And they're not odd costs.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I believe that the players are now ready. We should be getting into the game very shortly. And what we did say very briefly before we went to that short break is that we think Netherlands might be just a slight favourite because they do have that big minion. They do have the 1/3.
Yeah, but the Boisterous Bard on the other side sort of cancels that out to some degree.
Yep.
Let's see if they can both draw their tech card and see which one gets it done. Yeah, there's the mole, but look on Sintolol's hand here. He has pretty much everything you want. 2/1/2 minions.
Yeah.
Corridor Creeper is fantastic. Level up is like your win condition. It's not your win condition, it's the fact that if you do get control and you play level up, you win the game. And then the mole's an interesting decision, because if you get Divine Shield, you win on the spot. If you get 2 minions, you quite often win on the spot as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's just a full keep.
I think it might well be.
On both sides, even.
I might dump the raid leader if I was the Netherlands, and if I'm dumping the raid leader, now what do I do with this mole? Not so sure anymore. That's a tough choice. The raid leader doesn't do much because you're running 1/1s into 1/1s a lot of the time.
Sure. Oh, wow, okay. Sintolol actually ditching the level up. And I guess the reason for that is that you have to play as if your opponent has level up every time anyway.
Right.
Now, and he's kept 3 cards, right? So he's going to be playing with the threat of level up constantly in his hand. But more options, I guess.
Yeah, with Sottle's boy the Bard on the opposite side.
Sottle's boy the Bard? Is that what we're calling him?
Yeah, Sottle's become boisterous apparently, which is unusual to say the least. Okay, so Netherlands will be fairly pleased but not ecstatic with their hand. Germany will be absolutely thrilled with theirs, and they've rolled Divine Shield.
Yes, however, Netherlands have rolled Summon 2 Silverhound Recruits, which isn't a bad one either.
It's fine, it's number 2, but you can see from Sintolol's face just how good this crazy opening hand is for them.
Must move quickly.
So, yeah, smile goes off just a little bit there. But I knew there was something good there because it was kept, obviously.
The thing is, Firefly is a good way of mitigating the dire mole. The fact that it's a 1/2, not just a 1/1, means the mole doesn't just eat it up in one shot. Is that what they do? Do they eat?
Moles?
Do they eat up the 1/1 Silverhound Recruits?
I think so. I think they do. It's pretty dire state of affairs. So, making sure to get... We talked about how important the number of minions are. The size is relevant, but not as important in some ways. And so, using the coin immediately to get that straight advantage.
And it shows how powerful this die mole has been, right? Like, the fact that this is on the board has prevented Sintolol from pressing the hero power button.
Right. The first time I saw it, I was playing against the current world champion.
Oh.
He was having a bad week to play against me or something.
Dire mole?
Yeah, I was playing. I played a lot of Paladin that week, and he just went dire mole, and I'm like, Oh, thanks, Tom. I've just lost. I mean, the second I saw it, I'm like, I hadn't seen it before because I'd always been playing Fireflies and stuff and thinking I was clever. Just Diamol just wins, but doesn't win against this army of Mauls and hero powers.
I must move quickly.
Sacred Maul isn't that relevant though. Like, it's not gonna. Sinto's not gonna have the chance to play that for quite a while. Corridor Creeper though, incredibly relevant. He is sooner rather than later going to be able to just drop a 0 mana 2/5 for free.
Yep. And obviously with the Void Ripper, you know, the Netherlands just have to make, the reason they're thinking so on their turn is, do I attack, don't I attack? Make sure that you get it right. You can lose this matchup by attacking or not attacking at the wrong time and protecting or not protecting your health total. If you're not killing a minion, you have to work out if you still want the 1/3. Of course, reducing the health on the opposing minions is almost always correct.
So, there's still a button that looks very appealing here, and Righteous Protector to go alongside it. I guess Tyler has to consider the Champions more.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's a decent numbers swing.
But he wants as many of these 1/1s as he possibly can get, and if possible, on turn 5, that's going to happen. It's going to be Hero Power, then Champions more to summon 4 of them. Oh, that's the second Corridor Creeper, though.
That is indeed a second Corridor Creeper, Dan. And that's looking fantastic for Germany. Very difficult decision to make over and over again here, what to do about it, though. Like, they don't want to just get the Divine Shield here, but it's a decent way of chewing through the opponent's...
Tyler's done a good job of just sort of stopping Sinto's early game, because, yeah, again, like you said, the Purifier's Maul just isn't that great at the moment. It allows his minions to value trade with the Righteous Protector, and that's it. I don't mind the idea of just Hero Power, trade everything in, play a 0 mana Corridor Creeper.
Yeah. You can also Hero Power Pass, which looks atrocious at first glance, but does challenge the board okay. You just all gets taken out, that's the problem, and then your opponent repopulates and you're in trouble again. With a double Maul, maybe they feel you to use it, but you only gain basically 1 minion from that.
That Righteous Protector is doing a lot of work for Tyler.
It's really annoying. We're saying how good the Divine Shield Maul is. This is why.
Yeah.
Divine Shield is incredibly good in this matchup. Yeah, he's going to go with your play. Seems decent. And the Corridor Creeper should be around next turn in most worlds to challenge. However, with Void Ripper and Blessing of Might and a Champion's Maul, loads of options available to the Netherlands to just tidy all this up again.
It's so many resources to use up, though. If Netherlands are playing Void Ripper and Blessing of Might this turn, not only are they not playing the Hero Power button, but they're using up 2 of their most valuable tools.
I wonder.
But your Blessing of Might, you can also turn one of your minions into like a 1/4 with this.
True.
Yeah, you play it before the Void Ripper, perhaps, in some situations.
Another potential play is Blessing of Might, trade the 4/1 into the Corridor Creeper, then drop Champions Maul.
Sure.
Trade.
That looks fine.
Tyler ends up with 2 1/1s on his board and the weapon equipped, and Sinto ends up with nothing. So that's an option.
Yeah, Tyler will be a little bit concerned as to what the left-hand card is. There's not much he can be. They're probably spending time working that out. Oh no, they drew them all. That's the card they mulliganed. That was the level up. And you can see how good a mulligan that was, because they have not been in a position where they're going to have a minion to level up.
Yep.
So
it does slightly lower Sinto's bluff potential, though, of, you know, this card's level up.
Right.
Like, if the leftmost card hasn't been played at all, then that's something the opponent always has to consider.
Sinto says that's okay. This is what they would have had in mind last turn, to a large degree.
0 mana Corridor Creeper plus
Argent Squire is a great pickup. And then just get rid of your garbage Maul.
Garbage Maul?
Yeah, that's what they're called, right? Champions Maul, Purifier's Maul, Garbage Maul, Taunty Maul.
That is the Taunty Maul.
Yeah, it's no garbage, I said it twice.
Okay.
+1/+1 Maul. Which they call Buffer Maul.
Buffer Maul?
Yeah.
Very good.
So it looks obvious the Corridor Creeper, Argent Squire play the Sacred Maul. What else could they be considering? No real point in giving the Creeper the Divine Shield unless you think it's at a break point, which it maybe would be.
I must move quickly.
The light protects me.
And these best of fives, this is one of the reasons they go on for a while, is, you know, you have to double check with your team 3 times.
Really like this play. Just taunting up the Argent Squire to protect the Corridor Creeper.
Yep, makes a lot of sense.
Tyler can't do anything about that right now.
Yeah, and the Corridor Creeper perfectly, like you say, if you hadn't protected it, then Void Ripper would have just straight up taken it down. Health totals really don't matter a huge amount in this match. Sometimes you can get in a situation where if you get enough chip damage through somehow, you can spam one board and just happen to get a lethal with a Leroy and a buff. But in general, it just comes down to who is the one who wins the Battle of Resources early on. And Divine Favour does not help in a Battle of Resources. It's just a completely dead card. And Leroy is kind of close to that as well. Tyler with some serious issues here.
This game is a very close balancing act, but my big concern at the moment for the Netherlands is that Sinto has the Vine Cleaver to play on turn 7.
Right.
And that card can seriously tip the scales in one turn.
I think next turn might tip the scales quicker than even that, though. With the ability to make some dudes and the Purifier's Maul next turn, that's playing a lot of stuff, and giving Divine Shield to this Corridor Creeper and sticking it into a Void Ripper is also going to be a big deal.
That's actually nuts when you think about it.
However, as always, there's a however with this particular deck. Do we kill the 1/1s and leave the 3/3 up? Because they're the things that can get buffed. However, the thing you're leaving up is a 3/3 already, so what's the point in worrying about stopping a 3/3 from happening if they cost them a card to get there?
You know what? Dealing with one of these 1/1s with this current weapon is fine. I like the play you initially described. Give the Corridor Creeper Divine Shield, value trade it with the 3/3, because again, like you just said, 3/3 is worst case for these 1/1s, so might as well deal with the minion that's already at 3/3. And yeah, Sinto will then have some of his own 1/1s to contest the others.
I like this a lot. This is something that used to hammer home to people in Arena when Divine Shields is a bit more common.
Trade first,
Yeah.
then give it the shield.
Yeah, it can be hit twice now rather than just the once. A very common mistake for people to make is to not think about when they want to have the shield. Just like the taunt play last turn.
This is such a bad draw for Tyler.
They left up the 3/3 and not the minions. And now the level up's been drawn and has no available target.
Even if there was just 1/1 on the board, like
Sure.
leveling that one thing up wouldn't have made a difference.
But maybe next turn if there's an extra 1/1 up.
Sure.
And so it spirals this game, and Germany are on the edge. You can come back in this if Tyler was on with the Vine Cleaver, for instance.
Yeah.
And Sinto wasn't. Turn 7 can often be a big turn. But when Sinto sees next turn there is no Vine Cleaver, assuming there is no Vine Cleaver by then, he will be absolutely delighted.
This turn is just really unpleasant for Tyler.
And Sinto has to decide here, do I even care about my 2/2 Maul? Do I just want to play Vine Cleaver?
Well, he can't just yet. He's
No, it's on 6.
still the 1 mana
So he
short.
can't.
But he can just dump everything else he's got. He can just play Raid Leader, play Argent Squire, Hero Power. That's an even bigger board. Everything's getting buffed. One of the 1/1s trades into one of the 4/2s. The other one trades into the 2/2. And the weapon kills one of the 2/1s.
Yeah, you most likely want to use up your weapon charges, given that next turn, the turn that has the appropriate number of mana for the Vine Cleaver, you're probably going to play it.
Handle it.
It does seem one of the most straightforward plays. It even plays on your opponent's Divine Favour. Can't think of a reason not to just do the obvious play. Despite how often we talk about how much skill there is in Hearthstone, and there is a huge amount, sometimes the obvious play is the right play. And this is one of those occasions. Oh, board space is an issue, so they're just considering if they're going to play Vine Cleaver next turn, would they rather have dudes than a Squire? But playing around the Divine Favour seems a lot more important than that.
Another useless draw for Tyler.
Yeah, you can see how Tyler's feeling about this game.
I can see the top of his hat anyway.
Yeah. This is something that I think Sinto's improved over the last 3 or 4 months, like very recent times. I think old Sinto would have a sign on his forehead by now saying, "Lol, beat you."
Yeah.
But now he's still incredibly focused, making sure that nothing goes wrong with this almost seemingly unlosable position. Because, you know, a level up here or there.
Tyler makes 2 3/3s with Taunt, but it just doesn't seem to make much of a difference. Vine Cleaver can deal with one of them. I think the Corridor Creeper's probably done enough of its job now. That can deal with the other one, and Sinto has a full board, and this odd Paladin deck doesn't have any board clear.
There is a a secondary play they would look at here. They know they're winning. They're in a great position. Do you want to deny your opponent divine favour? And so play your Righteous Protector, maybe your own divine favour this turn? And then whatever you draw, just as a backup plan. You don't really need the 2/1/1s Divine Cleaver right now.
I guess. However, so he'd be spending 4 mana to play these 2 cards. He would only have 3 mana to play whatever's remaining. So
it's a good chunk of your deck.
Yeah, that's true. It's only denying Netherlands Divine Favour if they can then play a good chunk of the card.
And it's also getting a little bit out of your own Divine Favour.
Yeah, okay.
And that's actually what they go for.
Yeah. No, I can definitely see the logic there.
Vote Lorinda 2019 for Germany.
Stonehill Defender, not the best pickup, but if Sinto is happy to play it, then Blessing of Might is looking great here. Playing him out on the Divine Shield that can attack seems good. Oh no.
Are they just going to not put it down? I feel like they should. Yeah, just put it on something.
The raid leader, sure.
I feel like he just picked a target there.
This is just a game that Germany cannot lose at this point. In
Right.
fact, don't forget that this is an open deck list tournament, so Sinto knows that there are no nasty surprises in Tyler's deck. He's looked through the deck list.
And again, just part of the wrapping it up process. You say that they can't lose at this point. Well, they denied them cards, just in case something crazy happened.
That was a mistake.
That was a mistake. That wasn't a mistake. But this matchup ends up being a mistake for the Netherlands as Sinto Lol takes the win for Germany, evening up the score. It's now 1-1. Netherlands did win an unfavored matchup earlier, but then Germany won a 50-50 matchup, and now things are looking bad once again for the Netherlands.
We never got to saw the Bard.
Sorry,
he's bad.
Subtle, I guess. Anyways, next up, I believe... Oh, look at that! United Kingdom won a game.
Of what?
Hearthstone.
Oh my goodness! That's incredible.
That's good. In all seriousness, we're talking a lot about how this series is me versus Derek in terms of caster picks. That series going on the off-stream is actually Gaskin versus Sottle. So we've got all of the caster wars going on right now.
And if Sottle goes 0-2, that would be the worst caster performance of the day.
Yeah, not of the week, though. That would be tied with you.
You're supposed to be my partner, Dan. You're supposed to be helping me.
Next up, oh, look at that. We've actually got all of this.
Thanks, production. You're also supposed to be my partner.
That production actually just interrupted me going to go into the next game to just help remind how badly you're doing. Look at me, I'm 1-0. Good job, Italy.
Good job, Italy.
Come on, Netherlands! I want that 2-0.
Dan is getting really excited about these predictions. I've never seen him excited. That's because he's never got one right before.
I've never won anything before, okay, Lorinda?
Oh. Your time will come, Dan.
Anyway.
There's a lot of weeks of Swiss ahead of us. 0-2 does not matter at this stage.
Keep telling yourself that. Anyways, as I was saying, next up, it's going to be Priest versus Hunter. Theo on the Priest, Viper on the Hunter. And this is not a matchup that looks too good for the Netherlands.
No, it doesn't at all look nice. Priest, I'm just going to check which exact Priest it is. It's just Mind Blast Priest indeed, and the Hunter is...
Death Rattle Hunter.
Death Rattle, thank you very much. So, yeah, an absolutely spectacular matchup looking here for Viper. But Theo likes his Priesty decks. See how he approaches trying to stop that onslaught of massive minions.
Theo is one of those players that I've definitely seen playing a lot of Priest over the last year. He was one of the better Priests, I think, when Raza Priest was a thing, and he's been one of the better Priests ever since then as well, with Mind Blast Control Priest. I think it's one of his better decks. I have all of the faith in Theo in the world to help me in my war against Derek.
War against Derek.
It's getting serious.
But Theo, again, I just want to highlight how much advancement he'd made in his content creation over the last year. We all knew he was good last year, and by several accounts, he was sort of the one doing quite a lot of the work last year as well. But it was like, you know, the guys we talk about, the ones the casters like to tell you you should know, and then you go, we shouldn't know that guy. That's who he was last year. But now, with his stream, you know, getting decent viewership and still building rapidly, very educational, but also managing to play not off meta, but tech cards within the current meta, mainly. He likes to put... I mean, he put Bone Mare instead of Lich King in his even lock for Dreamhack.
He did, didn't he? Yeah, I remember that.
It's like, I don't know how your mind works, but I want to.
Meanwhile, Viper on the other side of things. He has qualified for the 2018 Hearthstone World Championship already. Did very, very well in the Summer Championships, not quite winning it. His teammate Bunny Hopper won it, and he's going to be helping with this series anyway. So, again, Germany's just so strong. Why didn't I pick Germany?
Because we did a pick order and it had already gone by the time it got there.
But, yeah.
That's kind of how drafting works. But they are an incredibly powerful nation. I mean, players like Zigzag, I don't think even made it to the voting stage this time around.
Wow.
Perhaps he did, but if he did, then no one voted for him. Rip. But again, players like Casey. Casey is one of only 3 players who's been to 5 top 16s in tour stops. The other 2 are Hunter, Ace, and Muzzy.
Right.
Casey not even on this team. It was one of the biggest surprises, actually, of the entire thing. We're into some action. Let's have a look at game number 3.
Game number 3. Viper starting with Candle Shot. Probably not as relevant against the Priest as it would have been against, say, an Odd Paladin. And Pyromancer also very good against Odd Paladin. Why have I got like Odd Paladin stuck in my head?
Because we just got like Odd Paladin in game number 2.
All over the place, yeah.
Nice looking hand for Germany. Obviously, you never seem to get, apart from, other than the game we saw yesterday, which was ridiculous in the Hunter Mirror, you don't get a perfect hand. You have too much garbage in your deck. Like King's Crush, let's say, hasn't been played for 3 years. I'm happy calling that card garbage. It's the right card for the deck, but you are going to get some of this stuff that is just overcosted nonsense in your hand sometimes. It's just how the deck is going to function.
The thing is, Katharina is so good with play deads and with cubes.
Sure.
King Crush is so good with Katharina and cubes, and then Cube is so good with play dead. It's just this weird circle of cards that maybe independently aren't so strong, but when you put them together, they are absurd.
Yeah, I mean, if Hearthstone was a game of picking the best 30 cards in a class and shuffling them together, it would be immensely boring.
Yeah.
You have to actually make them function as a unit, which is why they have interesting words on them.
Now that Cabal Shadow Priest in Theo's hand could be relevant if he's able to steal an egg with it. The issue is that can't come down until turn 6. Egg is going to be hitting the board on turn 2 with the coin probably, and then the Terra Scale is going to be procking the egg on turn 3. So Viper going to be off to a blisteringly fast start.
Yeah, getting an egg start on the field. Going to have those 5/5s ready and willing to go very, very quickly. Scale can help with that situation. And maybe then the cubes won't be around for a couple more turns. Animal Companion's a really awkward card in this deck.
It's strange because historically Animal Companion has been one of the strongest cards in Hunter.
Yeah. But it's nice, obviously, if you can... I mean, the options are all decent. It's just... Never mind.
And Ty showed us how good Animal Companion was earlier.
Yeah. Huffer, everybody's favourite. Raven even has a Huffer emote, I believe.
Yeah, everybody loves the Huffer. I quite like Bear Shark, personally.
Bear Shark.
The 3-drop slot.
The movie. About Bear.
Anyway,
it's a shark.
Eggs are going to start to hit the board very quickly now, I imagine. I would expect to see an egg this turn.
Would too, but they have got to consider the prospect of coin cube into cube.
You're right, yeah.
So a little bit to think about here, but I do agree, and as I see the coin shimmying around in the hand, it was very easy to agree. Viper's going to get the eggs down as quickly as possible.
How do you like your eggs in the morning, Lorinda?
I don't like the morning.
I like mine with big 5/5 dinosaurs inside them.
Wow, that sounds like one mighty breakfast. A beastly breakfast, if you will.
And there's not too much that the Netherlands can do about that.
Not right now.
Theo has to make the difficult decision. Do I trade into this egg, or do I let Viper do what he wants to do with it?
Yeah, and
trade.
It just seems better more often than not to at least stop the totally crazy stuff from happening and then deal with the fairly crazy stuff afterwards.
But the problem is the Terra Scale never gets bad because play deads and the Terra Scale are so good with Carnivorous Cube. Later on, in certain more controlling matchups, we can get to the point with this deck where Rexile comes down, you just make big beasts, and then as soon as a big beast sticks, maybe one with charge, one with rush, whatever, you just cube it, play dead twice, and you've got this massive board.
Yeah, a little bit awkward against the Priest. Of course, that's going to happen fairly quickly, this massive board, because of Anduin. So the timing on some of this big stuff is going to be a little bit awkward for Germany. But it may not, I mean, just looking at this hand, it may not even get to that stage. There's so much going on. And, yeah, maybe the second egg gets stolen if they're not speedy enough about it. But yeah, now they can go for the second egg, and because the first one was procced by the opponent, suddenly this is a big deal for Germany in terms of tempo. But you can't play around the double egg hand. In an unfavoured matchup, if your opponent has the absolute crazy nuts, then you're just going to lose to them.
The good news for Theo is that the Scale Worm will just trade straight into one of these Devil Saws. So if he would like to, he can get rid of the second egg right now.
I feel like he should.
And dispatch it immediately. And honestly, I don't see a better play for him. I don't see an alternative play for him even. I guess trade into the 5-2 and pass, but...
That seems grim. If you can deal with these eggs, I think you've got to deal with them.
Yeah, I'm thinking...
Because you're still challenging the 5-2 on board.
The other possibility, I guess, is just trade the Ooze into the Devil Saw and then trade the Scale Worm into the 0-3 and leave the 5-5 up. But I think the first way around is better. Like, trade the Ooze... Sorry, put the Ooze into the egg, then trade the Scale Worm straight in. No, he's done it the second way around.
Why would we do it this way around? So you get a 5-4 against a 5-5 instead of a 3-2 against a 5-2.
I guess, so Viper sort of has to make this trade anyway, because cards like Power Word Shield exist.
To my side.
Sure.
And now I'm looking at that Leok and looking at this Cabal Shadow Priest and thinking, well, that might be a thing. And
that's the only one that was bad. If he rolls Huffer, he can trade into the 5-4. If he rolls Misha, he can start applying damage to the face.
Yeah, you're right.
So Viper very unimpressed with this Leok, as people have been throughout Hearthstone's history. Leok always gets a bad deal, I feel, in the press.
And then occasionally Leok is very clearly the best one, and you never get it.
No, you just get Huffer, which doesn't do anything when you've got 6 1-1s on the board. Difficult turn now for Viper. I mean, it's not difficult.
Quickly.
But the age-old question of trade or face comes to play here. And yeah, he feels he needs to defend the little board he does have. Try and set something up for the cubes to at least copy. But for now, suddenly, from that really good start, Viper is nothing doing.
Yeah, this is just a handful of nothing, isn't it?
The problem for the Netherlands is they have the same problem. And you know, if you give the Hunter 1 free turn, you're going to be in some trouble.
I want to try and talk through what some of Theo's plays are here, but we've got drop Cleric or don't drop Cleric.
Yeah, heal nothing. Play Northshire Cleric, heal opponent's face and say by the Holy Light. They're your choices.
it's just a pass. He's going to go with the by the Holy Light play. By the
believe so. Doesn't even emote. Theo. Well, Prince Keleseth at least gives Germany something to do on this fairly horrible turn.
Is playing Cube on Leok so bad?
I wonder. So you're going to buff things by 2 later on?
I mean, more to the point, we're going into turn 6, and Viper knows that there is a copy of Cabal Shadow Priest in the deck.
Sure. It is a minion that has got a decent attack value, I guess.
As you said, he's developing a 4-6. Later on, there'll be the double buff, and it prevents Theo from getting sort of the closest thing to a swing turn that he can get right now.
And the other option being to just dump Keleseth, Flame Elemental, press the button. That doesn't sound any fun at all. Yeah, this seems, as you've got an activator for it, to be the best play.
And again, Theo is just left with nothing to do. That Psychic Scream will be invaluable for him at some point, but he's going to wish he had a handful of them.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons that Priest just struggles so hard in this matchup. It's just got no way of exerting early pressure at all.
I wonder.
Obviously, he's not had the best of hands. He's not been able to draw cards or anything either. But you know, even though Germany had a decent start, the start was wiped out by the early move of the Priest. But you still feel that Theo's got it to do if he's going to win this one. I think the plan here is to work out what you want to do with your Psychic Scream. how many minions, which minions you want to shuffle back in. How long can you allow this to go on, basically?
How long will this go on?
A long time, because this is one of those games where you've got to scrap and scrape for every point of damage and every card if you're Theo. And so they'll be taking this length of time on every single turn, I should think.
After all of that, just going to be another Hero Power Pass turn. At least this time he is healing himself.
And now it's up to Germany to think, well, hang on. There's no way they have nothing in their hand. I mean, this is about as close to nothing as you can get. Must have a Psychic Scream.
So,
how much do we want to commit to getting Psychic Screamed?
Right, so step 1, Keleseth.
Seems good. You don't mind me drawing that card?
Step 2, or rather question 2, would Viper like 2 extra copies of Leok shuffled into his deck?
Not really.
No, I don't think he would either, so I guess that Terra Scale isn't being played yet. I think just dropping Keleseth, hitting Theo with what he has and playing the hero power is fine here. It's enough pressure and plays around the Psychic Scream.
Yeah, that's the big question. I think you're right, but is it enough pressure? It probably just about is. But Theo can take a 7 or 2, he can heal for 5, etc. But you get into this silly game where if Theo doesn't Psychic Scream, then Viper doesn't put any more on the board, so he hits you for 7 again. And eventually that just becomes a problem. But Mass Dispel, Dan? Tempted? You only get one of them.
Tempted, yes. But the problem is there's still 7 damage on the board.
Right.
So, more tempted to play Psychic Scream, but again, the issue is...
How do you want to utilise this Drake as well? Do you want to wait and try and save it in case you get Twilight Acolyte, or is that just too ambitious? So you can Twilight Acolyte with a Cabal, maybe steal something good?
Ooh, you were saying?
Interesting. I mean, one of the problems is stealing something good isn't possible after it's killed you with this deck sometimes as well.
That's true, but this has turned things around a little bit. Because now, you mentioned the Drake, now Drake's looking great. It's going to deal with the Keleseth and the Flame Elemental, the Firefly rather.
They can also now Psychic Scream next turn, whatever's there, force Germany to put a threat on the board and then steal the threat. And then, like you say, it ties up the Drake, you can play that the turn after.
Viper might not play around it anymore as well. His board isn't as good as it was before. Just losing that Death Rattle was a big deal. And if Master Spell was the best thing that you had last turn, does that mean there's no Psychic Scream in the hand? Or does that mean he's saving it? This is the discussion that Germany are going to be having right now.
The problem is they learned nothing because the Master Spell was picked off the top.
Yeah.
So I feel that they will know there's a very strong chance of Psychic Scream based on their previous read, and nothing really changed.
Right.
What you've got to ask is, would they play that over Psychic Scream Master Spell? Well, I mean, we know they would. We can see the answer. I think Germany will come to the conclusion they need to put a little bit more on board, but I think they'll know the Psychic Scream is there.
Quickly.
Actually, let's have a look.
It's just a 3/5. 5 mana, 3/5 with Taunt? That's not so good. Now, it's Primordial Drake here, right? Primordial Drake is so good. It only leaves
Messes up your Twilight Acolyte, though.
For now.
Sure.
But there's plenty of dragons still in the deck, so...
But I think you're in a hurry. I think you want to, if you do Psychic Scream, I would think you want to immediately steal the next thing they play.
Okay.
To get some sort of board back yourself. So, I'm not disagreeing that Primordial Drake is strong, but the other line is a very different line. I don't think you rely on the... I don't think you want to do the stealing stuff much later than the turn after this one, because you're going to be dead.
It's just so difficult for Theo this turn. You can see there's a lot of discussion going on between the Netherlands right now.
Yeah, and
I
feel like Theo made that decision.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't surprise me. Again, he's the major... the priest expert, as you said earlier. Gonna just drop the cleric, is he? It doesn't seem as bad anymore, so...
Yeah, he was looking at the power shield. They wanted they're ready for that, maybe. But, again, now, whatever Germany do, Netherlands can steal the best thing amongst it. And at least get some sort of board to try and apply their own pressure. We've talked about it already. One of the problems of this deck is it just doesn't have any pressure to apply. So steal your opponent's pressure, maybe get some that way. and then get King Crushed in the face the turn after.
That is a load of nothing for Viper, which is actually okay for him. It's bad for Theo. Theo wants Viper to play a huge minion now, like Katharina or something, but Viper doesn't actually have a huge minion to play this turn.
So the first question he has to ask is, do I need the play dead? If he can have a massive turn with cubes and stuff going on, but do I really need that? I think I'm going to win anyway, so he's going to go for the flanking strike.
Gonna just deal with
Looks like the
this.
Netherlands are desperate for cards. They've done very little all game. Well, they've not done very little. They've cleared up some boards, but you know, and then just get rid of this threat.
Right, it deals with the cleric immediately, and that means there's no risk of loads of card draw coming up later. For Theo, though, it means not much is going onto the board, and again, he has to think about this Drake. I know it messes up the Twilight Acolyte, but there will be more dragons drawn at some point.
Yep, I mean, as they approach stability.
I mean, look, there's just a 1-2 and a 3-3 on the board.
But there's a King Crush in the hand. They don't know that, but they know it's a card that exists. That has all problems solved.
That's better. That's better. Is it better? I mean, it's
I'm not
good.
sure. I'm peering.
It solves the problem, as you said, because now there's a second dragon. If one of these dragons is played, the other one is in the hand to activate the Twilight Acolyte. The question is it better to have a 4-8 with Taunt and leave a 3-1 alive?
And it'll be a 4-10 with Taunt because they'll shield it up as well.
It will be, exactly. Or is it better to clear up everything, Howard shield this, draw another card, and still have several mana to spend?
Yeah, they've gone with this route because they're not dead to many things next turn.
That's a good draw as well. Just
Yes.
slam that Drake. Seems good.
Yep. Germany know it's go time now. They've also got to play around and not play around it. They've got to be well aware that Anduin is a Hearthstone card from this point on as well. The whole game has been about the fact he can't do anything with his cube that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's kind of strange that the Terra Scale has been there the whole time. Theo cleared up the eggs as quickly as he could so that these minions wouldn't be able to do anything, and to an extent has definitely been rewarded for that.
Yeah, King Crush. I mean, it's going to be tempting, but they know they're going to lose the combo if that happens. King Crush, if it's stuck, would just win the next turn. But there's so many ways of getting rid of it. This is what this deck does, it gets rid of things. And he's decided, okay, it's only a Firefly, but I've got to start using my cards. So let's do it. And you can see the laughing on his face, like we waited the whole game to get a decent minion. We never got one. We've just copied a Firefly 4 times.
And now if Theo wants it, he's going to steal the cube that's going to give him some Fireflies next turn. It's probably the best play he's got as well. He can trade away the 3-3 and one of the Fireflies. Problem is that King Crush, and I actually cannot remember if that was drawn before or after Keleseth was played, so that might actually be a 9-9.
I think it was before, but I wouldn't swear to it. He's got the option to bump both things into the cube here, heal up the Twilight Drake and just play his Primordial. Leaves up a 3-1.
Okay.
But also the option to... Yeah, there's several variants on that theme. You could leave up 2 1-2s instead, I think. And just trade your Dusky Boy into the 3-3.
Trade your Dusky Boy. That has a very strange meaning now.
It does. So plenty of options here. They've got the Divine Hymn as well, actually, so they can protect both of these and play the Drake. So I like it a lot more now. Yeah, this is fine.
Healing up is good, and as you said, it gets rid of pretty much everything on Germany's side of the board. This ends up being significantly better than everything that I suggested earlier. And now, surely it's King Crush time.
Surely indeed.
King Crush, Hunter's Mark will allow the Terra Scale to just destroy the Drake, and then if Viper wants to, that King Crush can go face. The problem is...
How are you winning?
How is he winning?
That's the question you're about to ask, right?
How is he winning? How is he winning?
My pack will hunt.
He's holding on to that King Crush with everything he's got.
Yeah, he must be aware that King Crush might just get stolen at this point. But now, Shaw's going to get stolen.
This is going to get stolen, and that's horrible for Viper. Howmaster Shaw is so good when he gets to stick, and as Viper only has one card in his hand, the chances of this Shaw sticking are very high.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to play the King Crush to get rid of it, it's pretty devastating. You could say it was crushing, in fact.
That all being said, Theo actually doesn't have a dragon in his hand, so
of course,
rewind, he can't actually...
Because he kept drawing dragons at the point where I said about that. Yeah, so he can't do that anymore.
However, just trading in and playing Holy Fire, then healing the face would put Netherlands back up at 23. Theo's looking secure now. Rexar hasn't been played yet, and that's a big deal.
You're not secure for long in this deck, though. Against this Hunter deck, they can just wallop you for 16.
Not when there's only one card in the hand, they can't.
No, but even though Theo can deal with the immediate threat, I mean, Katharina can just change this very rapidly.
Sure. I feel like Viper needs to draw Rexar if he's going to want to get anything done now. He needs to start building some actual threats.
But so does Theo. I mean, that's the thing. He's not fighting back, so Viper does have a little time.
Theo just needs his Death Knight hero, that's right. He needs Anduin so that he can actually just win the game.
And Theo decided to go for the Holy Fire. This was us slowly coming around to this just for the healing out of range.
Yeah.
You've still got some sort of semblance of a board.
Corpse Widow, low-key, one of the best cards in this deck, I
Yeah.
think, actually. The fact that it allows you to play the eggs very cheap, the cubes very cheap, and also a lot of the Builder Beasts have Death Rattles as well, and you can also get Corpse Widows from that. You can end up with some very cheap cards there.
Right, that makes a lot of sense to me. Builder Beasts, if they were cheap, God, that's good. I'd pick them up in a 2-for-1 and Builder Beast deal.
Viper, again, looking at that King Crush and thinking it just doesn't do enough here, and the chances of it being stolen are still very high. Those two leftmost cards in Theo's hand have now been there for quite a while.
Yeah, they've got to work out how hard it is to deal with his Corpse Widow as well, just as a straight-up minion. How many Death Rattle cards we have left? It's not going to live for 2 turns,
No.
but it might survive for 1. But no, here it comes. King Crush.
Netherlands don't run Shadow Word Death in this deck, so
Right.
King Crush sort of has one layer of protection there. Obviously it runs Anduin, so that would just get rid of King Crush immediately, but Theo hasn't drawn it yet, and he needs to find a way of dealing with this.
Dragon would work, as you said earlier.
So he could powered shield.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Psychic's been fairly useless against King Crush because the whole point of King Crush is to be pulled out of the deck, so putting it in there is a very temporary measure indeed.
Oh.
However, I mean, also it's key not to panic here. You don't really don't want to get hit for 8, but it's not a total disaster.
Well, Theo still has 23 health once he's played his hero power, which he inevitably will this turn, so unless he plays Psychic Scream, in which case he doesn't need to play the hero power. But 23 health is fine, gets hit for 8 next turn, hero power makes that 10, so 13. I guess they are getting a little bit low, but there's still only one card in Viper's hand.
Yeah, that's the main issue for Viper. I mean, the main issue for Theo is
Gonna go
that
for
he
another
doesn't
dragon.
need damage.
Gonna go for another dragon right now. Can't steal it, but can play the Twilight Acolyte if one's drawn. It's not a dragon, but Shadow Reaper Anduin is going to make a big difference next game. That's going to be a swing turn.
Yeah, it sure is. Not a Death Rattle, but still a pretty decent board to go into an Anduin turn.
Yeah, so the Corvus Widow has been buffed by Keleseth, meaning it's now a 5/7. So if that's played, it would actually be destroyed by Anduin. Sound like Chain Gang is an issue, though.
I always forget the Keleseth in deck. It always seems so weird. But there's just nothing else to do, so you just put it in there because why not?
Yeah, right. And
Do you want to hit your opponent for 1,000,000? No, I want to hit them for 1,000,001.
It also buffs the eggs, meaning that
Sure.
if they get buffed by the Keleseth, you don't need an activator.
It does have lots of sort of fairly nice uses, but it just always looks kind of strange on the list.
Viper's just trying to work out, does he just go all in here? But there's probably a Psychic Scream.
Yeah, you don't really want to walk the Widow into the Anduin. But you know they didn't have it last time. They've drawn 2 cards, so they've got a 2 in 13 chance already of having it. Plus they'll draw another card next turn, so it's a decent chance they top deck Anduin. And Viper knows that. Of course he can count. So it doesn't need to commit anymore if Theo doesn't have Anduin, and if he does, then the Corpse Widow just dies.
This could be the Psychic Scream, though. No, Theo is more likely to play Anduin, I think. With what I know, Psychic Scream would be better, because then Viper pretty much has to play the Corpus Widow,
Sure.
then Anduin deals with it. But Theo does not know that the card in Viper's hand would be destroyed by the Anduin, so he will go with the Anduin now.
Job done. The light has betrayed
Right,
me.
into the second phase of the game. Of course, much harder for Theo to stay out of range now, so he does have to actually try and win. Now he's lost his healing abilities. Terrible pickup there for Viper, but...
Yeah, really bad. He just wants to know where Deathstalker Rexar is.
I mean, or any of his stuff, yeah. Katharina, those things. But still managing to push quite a lot of damage. Setting up lethal again. Obviously, Psychic Scream will deal with that problem. And then Alex Strauss, the turn after, does start to give the Netherlands a chance to win the game of Hearthstone now.
This is flipping entirely. Also, probably less relevant this turn, but the Twilight Acolyte is now glowing yellow again as there's a dragon in the hand. Theo could take the Corpse Widow. Issue is then the Saronites and the Rexar Hero Power and the weapon are going to be dealing a lot of damage. 9 out of the 11, actually.
What's Theo's best way to set this up? If he Psychic Screams, maybe just drop the Pyromancer? Then Alex Strauss the next turn, win the turn after that. That's reasonable.
Theo might have to play Alex Strauss out himself, though, depending on how much damage Viper has next turn.
It's going to be pretty close, but Viper should have damage. He seems to have punched the air there.
Okay, and that's why he's punching the air. I've mentioned this for a few times now, but Deathstalker Rexar is the card that he needed. Going to be able to build a beast this turn, won't be able to play it, but...
I mean, it takes damage off the board, it just, yeah, everything's lovely.
A lot of beasts have lifesteal. It's going to be difficult for Theo to set up this lethal. Let's take a look.
Try again. Scale Worm, I guess, because you don't mind a fairly expensive builder beast on this particular turn because you've got no other cards in hand. Normally, you don't really want to spend.
Is there anything worth silencing in the priest deck? I don't think there is, really.
Sort of stuff that gets acolyted, but yeah, you haven't got any. And Stealth? Just lob that out there?
Stealth is fine, but if you took the Scale Worm, then that's now a 9-mana minion. Okay, that's good. That's good. It's got the Direwolf and the Stealth. That's good. So the issue is, like, expensive minions are fine, 9 or 10 mana minions are not so fine because he wants to be making one every single turn.
But if he's going to win you the game, which his one is, that wouldn't matter too much.
True. Then again, that's where the defensive Alex Strauss could.
It could, but he's down to 8 cards in his deck. Does he have the resources to win the game if he Alex Strauss his own face? We saw yesterday from, I believe it was South Korea, in a game against the Priest where they had very few resources as the Druid left, the Malygos Druid. They did manage to sort of find a way to get a board state where they would at least get some repeated damage done. So this sort of congealed mess of minions, if it can stick on the board, can get it done. So maybe you can steal Alex your own face here.
I'm almost certain both Shadow Visions have been played and neither of them picked up a Mind Blast. So unfortunately, the total damage that Theo can ever do in one turn should be 16.
Plus, I mean, the often forgotten fact about Alex Strauss is it's an 8/8. You know, it's a pretty good minion in this particular encounter where your opponent hasn't got anything to do.
Darkness speaks.
I mean, if he just Alex's Viper here, doesn't he just win next turn? 20 health remaining. Hero Power, Mind Blast. Hero Power is 9, plus the 8 on the board. That's 17.
What if there's a taunt in the way?
What if there's a taunt, or even better, 2 taunts in the way? Issue is then, if Viper plays the Samurai Chain Gang, he can't play the Zombies, which is what's winning him the game.
Sure.
Huh.
Tricky stuff.
But I'm surprised we didn't spot it sooner. I think the aggressive Alex Strauss at that turn, preventing Viper from really doing anything, like playing the Direwolf, definitely seemed like the way to go.
They need to work out here what they can get that will take this down. Can they get the rush or the charge they require? And if so, what minion goes with that?
So the Runt can be played with the Saronite this turn, and it will get its adaption. I'm not sure how relevant that is, but if he can get it with the Scale Hide, maybe?
No, get poison or something. I mean, if you can get it with rush,
yeah,
very cheap.
Right, right.
Like you say, Scale Hide would be absolutely perfect to go with it. Gastropod.
Another taunt isn't so bad.
Gets pew-pewed a bit though.
And if he gets the, well, any of the 2-mana minions here will be able to be played with the Saronite this turn. Oh!
Took the Hydra.
Wow. Taunt, wow.
Interesting. Well, it's counting time.
I only count 17.
Yeah, I don't count 20 anyway. I'm not sure if I could count that high, even if it was there, but I know it's not. I can actually count up to a number I understand.
20 health on the Viper's side of the board, 17 damage from Theo, that's 8 from the Alexstrasza, 4 from 2 hero powers, and 5 from the Mind Blast. 6 mana down, can't fit in another hero power on top of that. However, on the other side of things, Germany have 7 attack on the board, and the weapon, which is the 8th.
Imagine if this thing didn't have stealth.
Theo doesn't have a way of healing himself. I mean, I'm trying to find a way, but I think this game is just over, Lorenzo.
You stare at the screen until that dog stops being in stealth mode and steal it.
Grow short.
No, the Cabal Shadow Priest and Twilight Acolyte have just been sitting there this whole game, not doing anything.
But no, I can't see anything either.
No.
And Nork and Theo, it goes to 2-1 to Germany. I feel that this was levelled up in the pick ban phase. I know you said Germany were favourites for this, but after the pick bans, it seems to be very, very even. But Germany's still getting it done.
Germany, yeah, I mean, they did lose the favoured matchup earlier, but now they've won this one. They are 1 win away from taking down the Netherlands in the first round of the Swiss. This is such a hard matchup. I cannot believe that one of these teams is going to be 0-1 at the end of this series.
It's kind of how it works, though, Dan.
It is. It is how it works.
And it's not just one of these teams. USA are 0-1, Norway are 0-1.
That's crazy. I'm going to need some time to digest that. We'll be back in just a few moments for the rest of Germany versus the Netherlands. 2-1 to Germany. Very good start. Very good looking series for them. Can Netherlands pull back? For me, Netherlands, can you do it for me?
Well, they've got a good enough chance to do it in the next... No, they haven't, have they?
Well, no, I disagree. Let's slow down a little bit. The next match coming up is going to be Taunt Warrior on the Netherlands side versus Quest Druid on Germany's side, which... Quest Druid? Taunt Druid. Oh my goodness. I just didn't want to say Taunt twice. Versus Taunt Druid on the Druid.
Quest Warrior.
Can we just start again?
Versus Taunty
Let's
Druids.
go back and start again. Quest Warrior versus Taunty Druids. Thank you, Lorinda. And that's a very good matchup for the Druid. Warrior does run Cornered Sentry, which is like the counter tech for the Witching Hour. It will prevent it from coming back. As there will be more beasts in the beast pool. However, there is a good chance that the Taunt Druid can just apply so much pressure to the board that it doesn't get to that stage.
Yeah, people at first were like, we've solved it, we can play nice little raptor woman. And then it just didn't seem to really help that much. I mean, it definitely helps a lot. You get some games where the players were complaining, oh, I lost, it was a 1 in 6 or 1 in 7 or whatever chance of getting the Hadronocks back, and they would have lost otherwise. And obviously it is a helpful thing, but... not that helpful. The
big difference, really, or the reason that the Druids can still have a good shot here is that quite often Hadronocks will be slammed down on turn 9. It will come from Oakheart or come from, just itself from the hand, and the Warrior won't be able to deal with it. Sometimes there's just no execute there. Sometimes there's not enough armor from the Shield Slam. And if that's the case, the Druid can just say, okay, Carnivorous Cube. Now deal with all the Hadronocks. You just can't.
Sure. And there is just not enough ways of dealing. The Warrior deck is weird because it has surprisingly little removal. It relies on hero power to deal with odds and sods usually.
Yeah.
But obviously when there's hundreds of taunt minions staring you down, it's like, okay, I've got a brawl. I've got another brawl. Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't got another one there, have you?
So while it can be the Druid's game, in theory, it does depend on whether or not it sticks to the board.
Mm-hmm. And the Warrior can get some chip damage in as well with that. As it goes, then maybe just shoot you in the face twice through the walls, or maybe try and get some situations where if you shoot them once through the wall of taunts, maybe you get it done with a 1 in 8 or something.
Yeah, that is possible. So it's a tough matchup, but we have to say the favourite is Germany. I'm saying that to my misfortune, because... of course, one more time, Netherlands is my pick.
Did you pick the Netherlands, Dan?
Germany's is Darrux. Curses.
Are you more, upset that Darrux winning or that you're losing at this point?
I'll have to think about that one. It's close.
Wow.
It's close. It's
That's
really
not
close.
a Dan answer at all.
I have a 1-0 score at the moment, okay? I want this perfect record.
Can't happen, because one of them will beat the other in the final anyway.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, exactly. That would be bad, right?
All right, let's jump in to match number 4.
In a moment,
In
maybe.
a moment, maybe. Yeah. Who are actually competing in this match? It's going to be
Germany and the
I
Netherlands.
know the teams. It's going to be Mitsuhide and Bunny Hopper. Bunny Hopper, the current Hearthstone Summer Champion. And Mitsuhide's not done too much this year. I think his last big result was his team winning the Gold Club World Championship in China at the end of last year. But he's just one of these players that's always around. He's a member.
I mean, he won a DreamHack a year ago.
Right.
Well, it was like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago now. But
That's
like
true,
you say,
that's true. Just this year hasn't done too much. Oh, nice little update there. Since we last had an update, the United Kingdom have lost.
Winland doing the thing that Yanetsky says they do, getting those W's.
I'd also love to know the result of the Romania game, which I believe we had an update.
It started,
It
right?
was 1-0, but we never actually got the final result. So maybe while we're waiting for this next game to start, production can hit us up with that. Otherwise, Bunny Hopper, what can we say about Bunny Hopper?
He's good at Hearthstone, and he has a degree that is a very long title.
So what you're saying is that he's very intelligent.
He speaks like 3,000 different languages. He speaks more languages as his second language than I speak as my first, which is one. I don't really speak my first language very well, let's face it.
Some interesting maths there. But here we go. Game number 4.
Right, Fire Plume's Heart seems a good card to have in this deck. Don't think you're winning without it. Not in this matchup, at least.
Bunny Hopper has the Hadronox. Is he going to keep it? I wonder. The earlier he can get that down, the less likely it is to be removed.
I mean, normally you probably wouldn't, I don't think, but look at the hand. He's got ramp, he's got card draw, he's got he's got an activator, he's got Hadronox. Do need to actually have some taunts. 3/7 Spider on its own is not that great, but you'll draw into the taunts as you go.
That's a good point, yeah. He's going to want the Oaken Summons, I guess, more than anything to start off this game. And the big card here is Oak Heart.
So he does actually pitch it, just keeps the Nourish. And yeah, there's some stuff, like you say, looking for that Oak Heart that just single-handedly probably caused more people to press the bottom right than any card ever, other than maybe Yogg-Saron.
Not Barnes.
Oh, Barnes just leaves me to punch the monitor. Concede by fist.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not that violent. I use the bottom right.
Mitsuhide always has such a great backdrop there. I remember this from last year as well.
Yeah, very pleasing on the eye, that whole area.
Really hope it's not just a green screen or something.
Just a green screen of a pleasant room.
Nice little Raptors. Okay, straight away Mitsuhide saying, nope, no witching hours for you. So Bunny Hopper is going to have to rely on a Hadronox sticking and being able to cube it to win this game.
Yeah, trying to work out where the Netherlands go from here going forward. Obviously, they want to get this Phantom Militia down for more than one activation. It's the whole purpose of having Echo, but their hand is pretty grim right now. Obviously, Bunny Hopper not going to get much done in the early stages, but that Nourish will fix everything. And then Ultimate Infestation will fix it all again. Druid's good at fixing things.
Yeah, it's pretty rare that Taunt Druid actually runs Ultimate Infestation nowadays. I'm just going to take a look through this list and see if there's anything else that's strange that we've...
Yeah, it's very tempting when we have hundreds and hundreds of deck lists in front of us to skim through and miss tech cards. So if you find anything, that'd be interesting.
He's not running Ferocious Howl. That's the only real thing I can notice, but... No, he just decided he wants the consistency. He wants that Ultimate Infestation to guarantee he gets the taunts or gets the Hadronox that he needs to win these games.
So the question for the Netherlands here isn't what we do now, it's what's our plan.
Yeah.
We've got 2 brawls and a warpath and kill a lot of things. What's the best efficiency for these brawls? Well, you're worried about Oak Heart at this point because you haven't seen the Nourish yet. You're concerned that Keep might be a man himself.
These 1/1s just aren't enough of a threat themselves, are they? It's just...
Right.
It means that Mitsuhide doesn't have anything good to do this turn. Phantom Militia is not really meant to be played as a single 2/4.
Yeah, it's all about turn 6, 7, 8 onwards here. How do we want to generate pressure? How do we want to complete the quest? What do we want to do with these brawls? Just making sure you've got everything assigned into the right package for later on when you might have to do something in a hurry or use this time now. Why not? You know how the game's going to roughly look in 5 or 6 turns' time, because Taunt Druid plays pretty much the same way every time, depending exact ease, of course, but you know. And on the other side, not too much decision for Germany either. They can probably try and think about when they want to use this Spellstone, but it won't be on a 2-5, you wouldn't have thought.
What to do?
It's been a very slow start for both players. As soon as Bunny Hopper can cast that Nourish, get ramping up into his Lich Kings, his Primordial Drakes, and his Ultimate Infestations, things are going to look a lot better for him. So my question is, what does Mitsuhide need to draw by the time Bunny Hopper gets there?
He needs to get those taunts going. I mean, he needs to get this quest done. He needs to have done some damage. Like I said earlier, it quite often relies on you needing to get a bit of fortune, but get your opponent low enough that you can get that bit of fortune.
Time waits for no one.
And again, both teams, Germany probably talking about, do we play the Lich King or the Primordial Drake first? Do you want a handful of Lich King cards? Just that sort of thing is the sort of thing that whimsically passes through these top players' minds. Oh my goodness.
Well, Shield Slam, if Mitsuhide has the armor, will allow him at least to deal with Haginox. But the issues, and then he's got the Brawl to follow up with. So if there is a Haginox, he can Shield Slam, he can Brawl. But we're many, many turns
from
away
anything,
from that,
right? And all of these cards are going to be useful at some point. But that point's so far away, you're letting your opponent get there free of charge.
And that's exactly the issue. These cards are great later, but he doesn't have anything really to do now.
Any purchase in coin into Nourish, other than it gets a couple of cards out of your hand and you've got a Lich King and an Ultimate Infestation in your hand.
So coin into Nourish means he's got 7 mana to use.
Yeah, it's not a good number, right?
It's not, but
I wonder.
is there any reason not to do it?
Sometimes you want 11 mana in some situations, I should think. Can't think what that would be.
I mean, in Malagos Druid, sure, but in Druid, I'm struggling to think of a good reason for that. Oh, maybe Lich King cards, obliterate coin, destroy the Haginox.
I think you're happier having your hand emptied out, and they agree, ready for when you do start to pick up those Lich King cards, ready so you can cast Ultimate Infestation. 'Cause that's going to be a problem, is the UI.
This is much better because it also means next turn, if Bunny Hopper draws one of the more expensive cards, maybe or like a Oaken Summons or something that he would not have been able to cast with Nourish before, now he will be able to do all of that.
And we're talking as if the Hadronox is dead with the Witching Hour. Of course, he has both of them in his hand.
Yeah.
So he gets a 1 in 4 chance twice. Is that how that works with the Raptors?
Yeah.
So.
Well, yeah. If he plays them both immediately, though we've seen some strange plays in the past where one has been played one turn.
That's what's actually what's making me ask it.
One has been played one turn, and then he's played the other one next turn after this extra Raptor has been added to the pool.
Right. But yeah, you should be 1 in 4 twice, which means you're virtually 50-50 to get back 1. You're 3 in 4 choice not to get it, which is 9 in 16 not to get it, which means you're 7 times out of 16 you will actually get 1 back, assuming no more Raptors enter the fray.
So another thing Mitsuhide is going to want, if possible, is his second Cornered Sentry, just to almost guarantee that it won't be coming back. Again, still possible.
I mean, he would like a minion with the word taunt written on it at this point. It's just insane. I mean, yeah, you're right. The Cornered Sentry is the ideal one, but just something to do.
Honestly, at this point, I think next turn he's going to have to play 2 Phantom Militia.
Yeah, I feel so too, and just trust his deck to find other stuff.
Time waits for no one.
Because then he is going to start drawing taunt after taunt and not have the mana to play them. So the chance of Phantom Militia on 9 going for 3, my goodness.
Another minion that doesn't have the keyword taunt.
And he is going to play that double Phantom Militia. This is kind of wasting a taunt in some ways, but also it's playing to his outs of just hoping that some taunts come off the top. They must come soon, right? He's probably asking whoever's like keeping deck track, like, how many non-taunts have I got? What's the likelihood we just keep drawing taunts from here? It must be pretty good.
Bunny Hopper picking up his Carnivorous Cube as well. So once he's got Haginox, then he will be able to play Haginox, hope it sticks, and if it does, cube it. However, Mitsuhide now has Execute as well. Warpath, Execute, and Brawl.
So
between all of those cards, should be able to sort out that Haginox.
Yeah, and just sticking to Lich Kings for now. I wonder if he'll try and stick only to Lich Kings or if he'll just go for all taunts in general. Like, Primordial Drake's quite weak to having your pool of taunts, but obviously if there's space, you just want it anyway.
Ah, that's an interesting point. Germany can even consider cubing the Lich King. Then again, the cube's probably too valuable to have later on. But then again, this is an almost guaranteed win condition, having as many Death Knight cards as possible, as opposed to the Hadronox win condition, which the Warrior can sometimes deal with.
You've got no space to store all those cards right now, is one downside too. But you can make space, easy enough.
Frostmourne. Fantastic.
Draw a taunt minion, man.
I wonder.
What are you doing?
2 Dry Whisker Armor. Entirely useless. 2 mana, 2/2, gain 2 armor.
Doesn't sound that bad.
It does.
It does on turn 7 when you have nothing else to do against a deck that smacks you to death. But
Oh, don't cast these.
on the face of it, it doesn't sound too bad. People play Plated Beetle.
True. But 2 mana, 2/3.
Yeah, significantly better in
gain
every regard.
3 armor.
Okay, you convinced me.
Ooh, Dragon Hatcher might be tempting, but Frostmourne must be very tempting as well. Then again, Bunny Hopper not necessarily going to want a 2/4 as part of the Hadronox taunt pool.
Right. It's decision time here for Germany. How do they want to approach this? The decision may well have been made on about turn 3.
Fluffy. Snuggle.
And yeah, they're just going to get this stuff going. There's no real threats for the Netherlands with on 3 out of 7. I feel that that's a threat. I feel that Germany will assume that the second Phantom Militia is in hand, because what is going on otherwise? You can't expect Mitsuhide to have this exact hand of things.
Mitsuhide has to just drop Garrosh here. There's not even too much to think about. He
Yeah.
needs to get rid of that Dragon Hatcher immediately, and there's no way he can afford to shield slam it, so here we go. Yeah, but you're right. Netherlands' hand has been miserable.
Draws the other dragon.
So this is why Ultimate Infestation's not necessarily always in Taunt Druid.
Right.
Look at Bunny Hopper's hand. I don't think he ever has a chance to play that this game.
I kind of agree. I do seem to think that sometimes people out-clever themselves. It's like, hey, yeah, sometimes the best card in Hearthstone isn't very good in my deck. And therefore I'm going to get angry with it and cut it. I'm not saying that's wrong, but I do feel that sometimes it's just like, hey, this is a good card, let's put it in our deck. Sometimes it is as simple as that. So UI is an interesting debate, because like you say, it's going to be completely and utterly rubbish in this game. Or for the longest time anyway. Probably never going to get cast. But then have they missed it? That's the other side of it. It's like, in the games where you have this sort of hand and can't play your UI, do you care? Because you've got a situation where you've got a handful of cards anyway. Does it matter that one of them is useless? I mean, it matters, but the trade-off.
No, I definitely know what you mean. When your problem is too many cards, yeah, a few of them up.
And if one of them is rubbish, yeah. It used to be a thing with Gul'dan as well. Whereas, you know, people played in Zoo.
I'm starting to worry with all of this pressure.
You're always worrying, Dan.
True. But I'm starting to worry specifically for the Netherlands that with all of this pressure coming down and the fact that Mitsuhide can't gain armor with his hero power anymore, he might not be able to shield slam the Hadronox when it happens.
Sure. That's a pretty decent point.
It's a good thing to worry about, isn't it?
That's a fairly... I'd be worrying about that too, if I picked the Netherlands. But, I mean, you say all this pressure, yes, it's starting to mount, but actually, they haven't managed to really sort of slam pressure into Netherlands' face.
Sure.
The one upside of not having a handful of taunts is you have a handful of things to kill things with.
How long can this
So it's a bit of a long, grindy, torturous sort of opening to this. It's going to get very explosive soon, though.
Mitsuhide will need a way of having 9 armor immediately when the Hadronox is down, and then still have the mana remaining to cast Brawl.
It'll be all right.
Lorinda's life motto.
I wish. But Bunny's holding on to this Frostmourne quite a long time. Obviously had better things to do for the last few turns. I wonder if now's getting to the point where get it active, start killing off some of these minions. Because if the Netherlands don't play minions for the next few turns, do you really care? You'll just be hitting them 5s and 4s and 9s and things. And if they do, having Frostmourne there seems decent to me. It also sort of tiptoes around Garrosh a little bit as well. As obviously, any minion that is played kind of takes double damage.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, there we go. First cube coming down now.
Okay.
And again, there's nothing wrong with cubing these big minions. It would have been good for him to consider it on the Lich King had it survived earlier,
Yep.
and now just on a 412. It's a good threat.
Bunny Hopper and Viper on the same team, two of the most deliberate players in the world, so this was always going to be a long one.
Mitsuhide doesn't run any silences in his deck, so it's absolutely fine to leave that cube as a 4-6.
Yep. Yeah, it makes a big difference, again, the open deck list format when you know something like that's happening. So you can make these cute plays that you just can't risk on ladder.
Out of my jungle.
All right, some taunts. Yeah. Yeah, taunts.
Well done. It's going to be interesting, actually, because they haven't been set as far back as you would expect. Now, obviously, they're set back in the fact that Hadronox is now, when it appears, in a great spot. Netherlands are going to have a chance to sort of get into this.
Hadronox is in a great spot, but a cube's been used up, and there's no second cube in the hand. So actually, there's still no guarantee that it's going to do... Oh, never mind.
I love it. Casters are great at that, aren't they? Point, no, don't worry. Point's irrelevant.
Second cube means that now, if the Hadronox does stick, then everything I've just said can be disregarded. Unless this cube now gets used as well, which may be worth considering for Bunny Hopper if he can get even more big minions. But then again, he's not going to want to play too much into this one board when there are still 2 copies of Brawl in the deck and 2 copies of Warpath.
Yeah, and he can... Yeah, just develop stuff anyway, is basically what I was trying to say. And is proceeding to do so. This cube will die organically at some point, so... Whatever. It's a cursing his luck, but... If Hadronox doesn't turn up soon, and this is where having your UI starts to help, because you can start to dump this hand slowly but surely and then find it at the end if you're getting really desperate. But if it doesn't show up soon, maybe Mitsuhide can complete his quest and actually start shooting. They're ahead on health somehow.
This game is actually very, very close, considering how slow a start Mitsuhide's had. He's managed to keep all of this removal. And I did mention at the start that, yeah, the Taunt Druid can out-pressure the Quest Warrior a little bit, but not by a huge extent. We are still talking just a couple of 4-attack minions hitting over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, we're now getting to the point where, with the weapon starting to run out of charges as well, this damage is going to accumulate more and more, but there's still that double brawl. And deciding they want to just get something on the board by this Dry Whisker. I saw a Dry Whisker there as well. It did happen.
Yeah, and then the brawl happened,
I think so. All queued up. See how they do. Go for the 40% shot. Not total disaster.
Again, it's still just 147 on the board. It's not actually that much damage. We're talking 35 health for Mitsuhide at the moment. I keep glancing at that Frostmourne thinking that could cause some issues later.
Yeah, I wonder what they're saving that for. They've obviously got a plan for the Frostmourne. Because you're right, it's not just a lot of damage to face, but it's a great way of restocking your board. Maybe they just don't want these garbage taunts. That's exactly what it is.
But
they don't want to get the garbage taunts back and put them in their taunt pool.
Sure, but I mean, even just to hit the face several times,
sure,
it's not too bad.
But yeah, some of my other suggestions have been to kill minions with it, where they don't want those coming back and going in their taunt pool.
Mitsuhide does run 1 copy of Glutton's Ooze, which will be able to do. And maybe that's why one of the reasons Bunny Hopper's not playing it is because Mitsuhide's had several cards on the left that haven't been played yet. One of them could be the Ooze that he's got.
Right. 7 out of 7.
All right.
Well played.
Let's put this game into overdrive then. But first, which taunt are we going to get here?
Well, at least into first gear.
At least into... we've been in first gear for a while. In fact, I think we've been in second gear. I'm going to call this third.
Okay. You always were an optimist, Dan.
Third gear.
Yeah. None of this really survives anything. That's my assessment of these 3 cards right now.
Well, if you want the strongest one, it's the Drake, but none of these are being played this turn with the Sulfurous. So I guess that's the big problem.
Is the 2 damage from the Death Rattle of the Abomination just to face worth anything at all here? Obviously, this Poisonous is the first glance. When you're up against things that are bigger than your things, Poisonous is a great leveler if it can possibly survive.
Right.
And that's what they decide to go for. Whether it'll ever see much play is another question. Here they go. They're going to just start shooting away and see what they can do.
If this hits the cube, that's the problem. All right, best target. I would argue that's the best target for now. Again, like you've said a few times over the last few days, when it hits the face several times, then suddenly it's like, oh, these were all the best hits.
Yes.
For now, the fact that it dealt with the taunt and not the cube
Felt like the best result.
Is a win.
So Germany will be getting a little bit anxious now about everything, about the fact they haven't got a way of getting their taunts back, about the fact they've run out of threats for the time being. And I feel like they'll want to start emptying their hands to then cast an Ultimate Infestation, but can they ever empty it satisfactorily enough? I don't think they can. Because everything costs so much, and you don't play a Naturalise against Netherlands right now, because you don't have to fill their hand up for now. The Witching Hours can't be cast. I don't know if you can even empty this hand. Find out where they stand before playing their cards. Makes sense to me.
Wow.
It's the good one again.
Another win.
Didn't Netherlands do this last year, Dan?
I have some vague memories of a certain game where that happened. Oh.
Romania looking like they're winning a 3-2 there.
Well, that's just a win then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Time passes.
Good job to Team RDU.
Yeah, a lot of things going down there. It's kind of not Team RDU, right? He sort of put out some tweets saying which players he'd prefer. Didn't get the ones he was after, so, yeah.
Yeah, well,
these guys proving themselves to RDU, hey,
well, we're
good enough for you.
There's been a training montage ever since
I
then.
must shoot.
Training.
He's made a man out of them.
Sure. Yeah, I was lucky enough to cast a Romanian tournament, the iZoom Arena, recently, where, apart from RDU, all the Global Games team from this year were there. Some of last year's and some of the players that RDU wanted on the team were there as well. Okay. One of those won it.
Oh.
Dyer,
So,
well played.
So RDU was right then.
Well, I mean,
we'll see.
Looks like they're winning, so
I guess
doesn't, you know. Again, though, it was just the community there. From the outside, you think it might be a bit fractured with all those sort of comments about I wanted this guy, not this guy. But actually, they were all getting together, a bit like the UK community. Bit of shouting, bit of memeing, but most of it is in good taste and good jest.
Some of it.
Apart from the bits that aren't in the UK's case. Meanwhile, if you're wondering why we're talking about tournaments from 3 weeks ago from a country that is off stream, first of all, it's interesting, and secondly, this has reached a bit of a ploddy pace.
It's really interesting to me that both Carnivorous Cubes have been used now. So now everything they said at the start of this game about how Hadronox can be important, how it can't, etc., it's just not going to be important now as long as Mitsuhide can brawl the board once. And as long as Bunny Hopper doesn't get really lucky with the Witching Hour, Hadronox isn't going to matter too much. I
mean, like you say, he's got a 7 in 16, I think it is, chance of getting a second Hadronox, but that just gets a second brawl.
That's some quick.
Oh no, he's used one brawl, so
he has.
That is actually the game plan at this point. But yeah, it is interesting that without those cubes.
Okay, sure. Second best hit. He just doesn't want that cube to die. So that's the main thing here. Still 28 health for Bunny Hopper. Mitsuhide getting a little bit weak. He would like to see the second cornered sentry drawn, because that way he can almost
then it
guarantee,
becomes a pretty ridiculous chance.
I believe there are two copies, yeah.
Yeah, that becomes a lot less likely. Still not as unlikely as it feels, by the way, if there's 6 Raptors.
No.
So it's 1 in 7 twice, so let me just do a quick math. You're like 13 out of 49 or something, so 26%, something like that.
That sounds astronomically low.
1 in 4? Astronomically low.
That's just the meme now, isn't it?
You are the meme for this tournament.
So the pro of putting the poisonous up is that it's an extra taunt. It's going to prevent some damage. But the downside is that the cube can now trade into whatever it wants and spit out some big 4/12s.
Remember, this Frostmourne is lurking to do things later on. It seems they are avoiding, for now, killing taunt minions with it. Might be tempted to sneakily kill this 1/5 though.
Well, if Bunny Hopper wanted to keep this cube alive, he could Spellstone one of the minions, Frostmourne the other, hit face for 7.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem too bad to me.
Also, there was some, Mitsu wasn't happy with it. I think they'd ruled this out.
Yeah.
And that's some of the advantage of keeping a secret card back.
He's going to need to hope that he can draw this Gluttonous Ooze soon. I feel like there's a lot of tools that the Netherlands need if they want to win this.
Yeah, it's incredible we've even got a game of Hearthstone at all going on here with the distinct lack of taunt that they got so early. But suddenly, a burst of action after a lot of rumbling along, and there's 12 points of damage a turn coming in now.
Okay. Mitsuhide can gain quite a bit of armor this turn if he wants to. The Cornered Sentry, the Dry Whisker, is a plan. If he then wanted to, he could shield slam the cube and then brawl.
I mean, he's almost in a position where he's been forced into doing something that dramatic just because they're facing down basically lethal.
The problem is, Hadronox, when it eventually does come out to play, it's going to be something a lot of 4/12s and the Lich King.
And you really need that brawl for that.
So, what's the alternative? Cornered Sentry, Dry Whisker, I think, is a way to start. He could cast 1 Warpath, I guess, maybe 2, hit the weapon into the taunt.
I must choose.
Well, it's decision time, and I think Mitsu's going to have to make this call.
He might even play the Acolyte and just pass up using the hero power this turn. Try and get some of these cards like the Gluttonous Ooze.
He's going to do it, but he doesn't like it. See the look on his face.
Oh no! Alright, now new plan for the Netherlands. Win the game before Germany draws Hadronox.
Yeah, it's a decent plan. Getting to the point now where Ultimate Infestation is going to be a useful card as well. One less Raptor in the card pool.
Surprisingly, yes. We are at that point of the game now. The problem with playing it now is that Bunny Hopper, if his 6th draw is Hadronox, then it will get burned. So,
I mean, with the Wild Growth and the Novish, you'll probably just draw cards that way.
That seems.
And then you have to go through the process again of emptying his hand from the Novish card. So he probably never gets to play it.
Yeah.
But in very slightly different circumstances, the UI could have come into play here.
Yep.
Want to keep an eye on cards like that aren't necessarily always there. And now they've seen both brawls. That is so difficult. It's not like the Netherlands are that close to killing him, although, you know, Warpath will clear a board at some point if it's not a recovered board.
None of these cards are Hadronox.
For no one.
They're not. Spotted. Is this one Hadronox? No, that's excess mana.
That's swipe.
How did you see that so quickly?
Is this one Hadronox? I just have fast eyes.
UK 2, Finland 2. Good luck to whoever you are cheering for. 2 of the more interesting teams in the tournament for me. Especially Finland, to be honest.
What's the logic in holding back the excess mana and casting it next turn, do you think?
Sure, there's always a really obvious reason when that question's asked as well.
Speak to me.
No, I can't think of it either.
Mana Worm.
Speak to me.
No, nor Auctioneer. But you're right, like...
Didn't need to. So, Habit.
Sure, that's actually a good enough reason for me, yeah.
I'm sure there's a better one.
Germany down to 12 health. Is this card Hadronox?
It might be that if he's... No, not sure.
Oh, that card is Hadronox. Just with slightly different lettering.
Turns out that Oakheart on turn 300 is still Oakheart.
And Naturalize, I imagine, going to come down immediately.
I mean, they are dead to what's on board, a Blood Razor and a hit in the face at the moment.
Right. But when Haginox gets naturalized. The problem with playing it now is that there's actually 2 slots on the board being taken up by useless minions. 5/5 and 2/4, not exactly what Bunny Hopper wants.
And they've been trying to avoid this all game, really.
Here we go. Mitsuhide. You got to deal with this now.
No Lich King.
No Lich King, yeah.
I thought there must always be a Lich King.
Time waits for no
Apparently
one.
not.
Right, but like you say, Mitsu's now got to deal with this with no brawl to his name.
But 2 Acolytes and a Blood Razor. I don't know how helpful that's going to be with his limited mana. He can execute one of these. He can probably hero power 1 minion away. He can play Saronite Chain Gang, but they would die to the double swipe.
Time passes.
Probably starts by hitting in an Acolyte and seeing what he draws. Hitting an Acolyte into the 4/12, ready to set up the execute.
Just to point out that by not drawing with the excess mana, they're not as close to
Fatigue. Okay. But then, what was the purpose in casting the Wild Growth?
to spend the 2 mana you had available. It's basically just turning your 2 mana spell into a 0 mana spell.
Okay.
So you have 3 mana left over, so you just do it because.
Okay, that hit the 5/5. One of the not horrible targets, I guess. Oh, wow. Mitsuhide just going to give it up. Germany taking their series against the Netherlands with a 3-1 victory. I'm struggling to keep this smile on my face as I say that.
Dan's always got a smile on his face. You won yesterday. Great play there from Germany. Just took their time, were very patient for the whole game.
No.
Very careful with things like the Frostmourne there. And it just shows how hard that matchup is. They got double corner sentry'd. And basically just the one Hadronox they made sure was enough to get it done. Obviously, that could have gone differently if the start from the Netherlands hadn't been quite simply atrocious. Just couldn't draw a taunt to get themselves going at all.
Gotta give them credit for the Hunter versus Priest game as well, though. I mean, it was a thoroughly enjoyable series, very well played by Germany. And again, although we're lightheartedly watching me seethe in pain as I just got my first
But
loss
Derek's
on the board.
happy. He's picked the winner there.
In all seriousness, Germany is a fantastic team, and they will do amazing things in this competition. Let's take a look at the matchup that we just had. There you go, 3-1 Germany. Sinto, Lol, Viper, and Bunny Hopper all taking their Ws.
Yeah, not getting to see that final game there. Didn't need to. Germany getting it done 3-1. Only Psycho and losing out there, but he'll be winning plenty of games this summer.
Yeah. Both of these teams, actually, I think will be winning plenty of games throughout the entirety of the Hearthstone Global Games.
The number of teams we're saying that about is growing.
Shall we have a chat with Viper and see if he has anything to fill us in on about that series? Congratulations, Viper, on your fantastic win. Is there anything you can tell us about your preparation as you went into this series against the Netherlands?
I think preparing, we first tried to figure out like what just straight up the best lineup, right? And in the end, we kind of thought just bring the 9 best classes and then try to win the pick and ban by outsmarting the other guy, like out mind gaming sometimes. And it worked out. So bringing 9 best classes was good.
How much different is it this year playing with friends, with people who are really up for it compared to last year, which felt a little bit awkward at times maybe?
It felt honestly way better this time because we actually went together and prepared even a couple days ahead of the tournament, and we just thought about the format and we just tried our best. And I think last time we just didn't put enough time into it. We met up the day before we should submit, and this time we meet up a couple of days ahead and we test matchups. We think about we can pick this, then they ban this, and everything like that. So
excellent.
Yeah.
It's a harder competition this year, obviously, with it only being solid Hearthstone players taking part rather than a lot of streamers and content creators. Do you think Germany have a shot to win the whole thing?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the German team is a really good team as well. I mean, no team basically has bad players for sure because it's after HCT points, but we are friends. We are playing together and we are preparing together. I mean, maybe in some other countries, they're like, okay, I don't want to do stuff, I got voted, but I don't know. I mean, I just know for sure that we're going to do our best and we will put a lot of time and effort into just winning. So I see us having a good shot. And
are any of the players who didn't get picked helping at all? I know some countries have that happen because you obviously got such strength in Germany.
Yeah, I mean, they're just all the people that got into the votings from from the Deutsche Zockergilde thing, right? And we're always exchanging stuff. We're thinking about everything. I was preparing a lot with Nixie and Komari as well, and yeah, they always take the time to talk over stuff and think over stuff. It's really good.
That is really great to hear, and actually quite frightening, I think, for the other teams. Congratulations one more time, Viper. Go and enjoy your victory. That's really great to hear that they are actually putting their all into this tournament, meeting up several times, thinking about matchups and everything. Their strategy was to play the 9 best decks, and they played the 9 best decks and won with them.
Seems good to me. Quick look at how that match went down.
That's pretty much what happened this series, though, right? Like they just played solid decks. Maybe not necessarily the decks that we would consider the top in each class, as we can see Q-Block. Not the most popular Warlock deck at the moment, probably the 3rd most popular. And also the same for the Druid, not necessarily what we'd expect when Malagos Druid is sort of the big in thing at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like Viper was making a point there about maybe he feels these are stronger than others and sending the message out, maybe he thinks this is better.
Right. But it's just, to rally his point home, the fact that we have here Team Germany, a team that not only the 4 players are putting their all in, they're communicating with the other top players in Germany, which is already one of the best countries in Hearthstone.
Yeah, I mean, Germany B would be one of the best sort of 15 or 20 teams in this tournament.
Yeah.
Maybe even higher than that.
Exactly, and that's the thing. And I think for Derek, Germany is a fantastic pick. And they are going to continue to do fantastic things in this tournament.
So if you, I mean, Germany have, as do several other, but very, very strong claim to being the best team in this tournament. They probably think they are. If you feel that way and you come out with the best decks, you just say, okay, we're going to play the best decks, we've got the best players, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to weaken your lineup to try and outsmart us, to trick us? If so, you've got to take on the best players with maybe best head-to-head decks, but weaker actual decks. When it's 9 versus 9, you can't manipulate it very easily so that you get into your tech choices very easily. Seems strong for me for the best team. Just go, okay, we're not weakening our lineup. You guys go do that.
It was certainly closer than I think we expected it to be, because again, even Mitsuhide admitted to me before that series started, Germany are favoured in every way, but they gave it their best shot. Germany took it away, and I don't know. That interview's made me very, very happy with Team Germany. I already had a lot of respect for them. Now I have even more respect for them, given the amount of work they are putting into this tournament. But we are not done yet today. In fact, we're not even halfway through. We're 2 series down. We've got 3 more coming up. So don't go anywhere. More Hearthstone Global Games after this.